Hello, beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in today, talking about 4 stages of awakening today. And the way I see it, it's a cyclical process of 4 stages. And in each 4 of the stages, there are these little steps or little things that happen. So I really want to tune you into my experience of awakening. And if you're here, most likely you're getting a little curious about what's going on for you, what's happening, what's next, where am I? So I'm going to answer some of those questions for you in this video. Thank you so much for being here, for subscribing, for liking and clicking that bell so you get more information about these really important topics in this great awakening time. So we're diving deep so we can rise high today, and we're remembering our greatness together. Thank you for being here. So in this video, I'm going to name the 4 stages, name the things inside of the 4 stages that are really important to note, and let you know about my own awakening journey that follows these cyclical steps. So as we go, please in the comments, please put in what you're going through. What stage you think you're in, or what stages you have developed on your awakening journey. Or are there no stages? Are you just kind of like just following the lightness? There's that too. Again, in this high vibe tribe, we are learning and expanding our consciousness together. So by all means, please use the comments. This is where we're having our community space here until I get the community section on YouTube, and your subscription will help me get to that space. So we get into the algorithm and we get people seeing this more, and then I think you get the community space, which I'm looking forward to. All right, 4 stages of awakening. This is the way I see it. The one is, it's the quickening. It's getting really curious and making a choice for something different. So number 1 is getting curious and choosing. Number 2 is broadening our perspective. So that curiosity starts bringing us out past the forms and structures that we're in. So for example, my husband and I grew up, I grew up Catholic, and my husband grew up Christian. And the two of us were very curious as kids. We were always questioning the forms and structures of those spiritual practices. And so here's the box, and we got curious within the box. And then the second step is, we broadened our perspective and we looked on in. And that is a very crucial stage. And it's a stage where you start collecting information. It's a stage where you may be wanting to read a lot and Googling a lot, okay? You're taking in. All right, stage number 3, all that information starts percolating awareness, okay? You start having these aha moments. You start realizing about yourself. You start realizing about the planet and the universe, and you start realizing things in different ways. That's awareness. And it doesn't show up in the mind. It shows up kind of in the mind's eye, if you will. It's more like oh yeah, that's okay. So in this stage of awareness, you're going to grow allowance, hopefully. And what you can say in the stage is, I grow allowance alongside my awareness. This is really important because you're going to be shown a lot with this awareness. And it might be hard to witness. So what happens is you start to grow your allowance for everything that's happening on the planet, for all the expressions of the divine, all the experiments, all the light that's happening in different ways on the planet. So this allowance is very important. And all this is part of stage 3. Stage 4 is possibilities. So as you grow your awareness and as you grow your allowance, the next possibility shows up. Now, I have a new friend in this tribe. His name's Book Hermit, and he has some really valuable content in his comments. I really encourage you to go read the comments. But in particular, Book Hermit said one comment about, in our awakening process, if we are really attached to our spiritual form and structure, it will be harder to release. There will be more resistance, which increases more of those ascension symptoms. And so with the possibility stage, that means there's other possibilities happening, and it may mean outside of the form and structure you're in. For example, growing up Catholic, I just took that and asked questions, and I broadened my perspective. It gave me awareness, and then the possibility was to go outside the church, to go look outside of that. And those possibilities brought me to Colorado, and I'll explain more of that later. But so these are your 4 stages: getting curious and choosing, broadening your perspective, awareness and allowance, and possibilities. And this is on a circle. Okay. So once you get to possibilities, you're going to go to getting curious and choosing again, broadening your perspective. And so awakening is not an arrival. Awakening is a process, a ongoing process. You will never get there. There will always be the next thing to expand to, the next light, the next energy, the next frequency to expand to. There will always be the next piece to be aware of. So I know there's a lot on YouTube about awakening. I've awakened. And I don't really like the term awakened as much as I do awakening, because it's always expanding. It's an ever expanding universe, and we are all in this together. We're ever expanding. And so there is that kind of initial pop, if you will, that initial pop from that denser 3D frequency to higher 3D frequency into 4D, where you have that, oh, wait a second, something else is going on. And you start choosing for something different and broadening your perspective. That initial pop, okay, is that initial awakening. And then from there, you keep awakening and keep awakening. So, and remembering. That's what we're doing here together, is remembering our greatness. And each one of us has a different remembrance. Every one of us has a different frequency that we're tuning into. And that's why I really find it valuable on this channel to share in the comments and learn from each other. And really, if we're in that broadening our perspective stage, that we take in. And if we're in that awareness stage, that we just sit with what is. And if we're in that possibility stage, we start maybe going for a different form and structure to learn from. And whenever we're in that possibility stage, be sure to know that it's okay. Be sure to know that it's okay to leave that what you're in, to go to the next possibility. All right. Now, those are the 4 stages. Now, there's a few things in each stage that usually happens. So that's ego death, letting go of old programming, feeling resistance and letting it go. And sometimes that can be uncomfortable. I did some videos a few days ago about all the discomfort about ascension symptoms. You can take a look at those. But the resistance to change sometimes creates even more of those ascension symptoms. So within each of these 4 stages, you're going to have those ego deaths and that resistance and that discomfort, and you'll have the opening, right? So this is all a continual process. This is the way I see it. And in retrospect, I'm looking back on this and seeing, wow, this is how it's always been showing up for me. And oh yeah, there's ego deaths in all of it, even as you awaken to the light, notice that there's some ego around being in the light, and let that one go too. So there's so much awareness that we can glean. And it's really important, in my perspective, to never use the word awakened in the past tense. It's always awakening. And those 4 stages will ever be circulating when you're on this human journey. Okay. All right. So a little bit about my journey is that I started out Catholic, like I told you, and had a lot of questions. I was very, very curious. And then I decided to really broaden my perspective, and that really happened at the age of 19. At 19, three major things happened to me, and it was like, whoa. The first thing was my mother gave me the book by Louise Hayes. Amazing book. Go find it. It's still in print. She has passed since then. She lived a long, ripe age of like 96, I think, and started Hay House Productions. She's an amazing woman, but this book was amazing. It really started my journey into the human potential movement. So I started there. That started giving me some different perspective. The second major thing that happened to me at 19 was I meditated for the first time at my local gym. I was really into working out, and all of a sudden they played this beautiful music, and I just tapped into the state of oneness. And I totally thought it was the music. I totally was like, what is happening here? That music, can I buy that music from you? And now being, a sound alignment trainer and a sound healer, and I use my voice a lot, I realize the power of sound to really get into our soul and our spirit. So that really activated me. And the third thing was when I was 19, my mom brought me to Guru Maya's birthday. Guru Maya had has an ashram in New York, upstate New York, and my mom's friend, this was his guru, and so she brought me along. It was her birthday, and it was beautiful temple. It had like heated marble floors, and I remember you had to wait in line and go up, and Guru Maya took a peacock feather and did this to your head and gave you Shakti Pa. And Shakti Pa is that source energy, and it just exploded my being. I don't even know how to explain it. I got so blissed out. They had a little path that you got to walk on after you got Shakti Pa, and I just remember being in such oneness and bliss from having this Shakti Pa. So those three things really broadened my perspective and led to some major awareness, as well as a lot of that resistance and a lot of, in my 20s, a lot of that ascension symptoms of like just really uncomfortable. So after that, I moved to Colorado with my boyfriend, and I felt pulled to Colorado. I lived in Pennsylvania, literally senior year in college, got yanked to Colorado. There was no way I could not move there. And so we had a few adventures there, and one thing led to the other, and I had a bad breakup, and it was very upsetting. And a bad breakup meaning like, within a month, a boyfriend of 10 years was sleeping with my sister's best friend and got her pregnant. So that kind of bad breakup. It was, and then they were proclaiming that they were the love of each other's lives. And it was a little hard. So I was really down. And my friend, who was a born again Christian, said, why don't you come to church with me? This may be for you right now. So I went, and I was so lit up that I went to the front of the church, and I had a group of people pray around me, and I welcomed Jesus Christ into my heart. And from that moment, there was just another awakening that happened. I broadened my perspective with this church, had this huge awareness and possibilities showed up with reading scripture every day, and it was amazing. I got through that breakup. People were like, how are you smiling? How are you happy right now? And it was a godsend, literally, because it really got me through that time. So I was a born again Christian for about a year, and I read scripture, and then I was very young in my spirituality, and I became very righteous, and I was kind of preachy, and going to Bible studies, and I felt very alone. And it started to really occur to me that this aloneness didn't feel like that bliss, that possibility of light. And I started to question, started to get curious again, see how this works. It always goes in a circle. I got curious again, got outside the box of born again Christian, and I got outside the box, and I started to look at Unity Church and different teachings, which led me to the Course in Miracles. So I studied that for a whole year, and that was crazy. Has anyone heard about the Course in Miracles? It's a book that was channeled by Christ, or not by Christ, but it was a channel from Christ, and it just pulled the rug right out from under me. It changed how I looked at reality. It changed how I functioned. It was a crazy year, but wow, the awareness it gave me and the allowance it gave me toward other people. It helped me to be able to look at like newspaper headings and not be emotionally hooked in. It was very interesting. It was so, so valuable. But possibilities showed up after that. So after Course in Miracles, I started to study yoga and yoga therapy. And whoa, that was a practice that was a mind, body, spirit practice that really affected my whole life, affected my singing voice, because I'm a singer songwriter, and really showed me how my source energy was singing me. It's something I've tried to explain to people so many times, because so many people have asked, wow, there's something that happens when you sing. How do you sing that way? And through my yoga practice, I started to realize, oh, I was being sung by my source. And so that taught me a lot about my voice and about being lived by source as well. So yeah, yoga was invaluable. And I started to do a lot of practice, like 2-hour practice of yoga. It helped me with continuing to learn about detachment and flow of energy. And it was amazing. It is amazing. And even through having a family, I kept up my yoga practice. It was something that, even having little infants, we would trade off. My husband would give me an hour to do my yoga practice. So that was invaluable. And yoga led me to some other things with law of attraction and questioning and, releasing old programming, until I came to something called access consciousness, which is another body of work that just went really literally exploded my mind. There's something in access consciousness called access bars. And these are 32 points. You touch the points on your head and it clears out all the electromagnetic energy from thoughts, feelings, emotions, and trauma, drama that have energy in your neurosynapses. So it clears those things out and creates more space for you, your authentic you, and you can be way more present. So that body of work, just changed again my life, and another huge awakening there, which led me to Holy Fire Reiki. Now, access consciousness really worked with that electromagnetic energy in my head. Holy Fire Reiki helped me just to really know my heart more. And that was amazing. And I studied that for 5 years and became a master, Holy Fire Karuna master, Holy Fire Reiki master, and really taught it and gave the sessions. And then, as always, the circle continues. I got curious. I felt the quickening, broadened my perspective. And whenever I did my Reiki practice, I always tuned into Holy Fire Reiki, but I also asked to tune into my highest consciousness. So, broadened my perspective, awareness showed me another possibility. And that's where I am today with a body of work called Marconics. And this is all about really getting sovereign with the source energy, just source energy. And what's happening, when I'm going to be learning more of it, I'm pretty excited. In October, I'm going to do the first training about this. But I've received the work and it's really powerful. So basically there's forms and structures that are energetic that are kind of corded to us to have a certain 3D experience. And so these chords and structures, I don't even know what they're called yet. These are all being taken away when you are in your Marconics energy session. And I'm going to be learning more about it. And I'll be talking more about it later in the fall. But this was my life in a nutshell, using this kind of cyclical method of choice, curiosity, broadening your perspective, awareness and allowance, possibility, and then circling it back again. And just this awakening journey. And it's been so powerful. And I'm really grateful for Book Hermit for bringing up that that comment around when you are attached to a certain spiritual form, it's harder on our awakening process. So there's forms and structures. I remember when I made the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to stop doing Holy Fire Reiki. There was these tentacles, energetic tentacles that I could feel kind of like pulling, like didn't want me to go. Like we get corded onto certain structures, and we have to be brave enough to say, my awareness is expanded and I'm done. Thank you very much. And you almost have to go and cut those cords. My experience with that was not the holy fire energy that was courting me, but as much as the form and structure around the business part of it, like the person that developed it. So the energy in itself is very pure, and it's but was something about the business part that was kind of courting me and didn't want me. It was like, anyway, that was a weird experience, but kind of released all that, and here we are to the next possibility. So awakening is a cycle. It's ever continuing cycle. So where do you see yourself? The reason it's important to know about these cycles, these stages, is because looking back, if I knew what stage I was in, I could really go for it in that stage instead of being like, what's happening? I can't read another book and stuff. So it's like there's in the stage of broadening our perspective and being curious, those two stages, it's a lot of accumulating energy, right? In the awareness stage, it's a lot of just pushing out all resources and just coming from here. And then the possibility stage gives us another choice here, and then we might go into getting some information. But it's really important to know when it's time to really get quiet, really get still. So that's been my experience. And now I'm really privy to my 4 stages. And I know, oh, okay, I'm in this stage, or oh, I'm in this stage. And it's like life in general. We expand, we have cocoon time. We expand, we have cocooning time. And this is the awakening process. We never arrive. We are ever expanding, infinite beings, expanding the universe together. So those are the 4 stages. That is a quick nutshell of my awakening journey. What do you want to share? What's your awakening journey like? Have you come up with stages that you see in retrospect? Are these 4 stages helpful to you? I'd love to hear your comments. And as always, people, thank you so much for your presence here. And thank you for subscribing, liking, and clicking the bell. And welcome to this high vibe tribe where we are remembering our greatness together. Namaste, beautiful one.